So you've been looking at tide gauges and how the earthquakes affected those. Now this is Jennifer Ryan. She works for Land Information New Zealand as a nautical cartographer. So we're in a very appropriate place right now. Okay, so given that we're at a port, how was the actual harbour basin affected by the earthquakes?
Well, essentially, as you'd heard previously with some of the other videos, there was a wee bit of uplift in the harbour. Not significant enough for us to make updates on our nautical charts. However, the Lyttelton Port Company was required to re-dredge some of the areas in the port to ensure that some of the larger vessels could continue berthing and entering the harbour.
So were there any other things that were damaged that caused problems for navigation?
Quite a bit of damage was done to the infrastructure in the port, so namely the navigational aids. These are crucial for navigating at night time, for example. So post-earthquake, some of these toppled over or were inactive, which meant these big ships were not able to navigate safely into Lyttelton Harbour. I guess you could liken it to travelling through a tunnel with no lights on. Very scary and very dangerous.
So when you talk about the navigational aids, what exactly are you meaning?
So specifically, these are lights that have a particular characteristic or colour. So for example, a green light represents starboard, which is the right hand side. So essentially, like you have road rules on New Zealand roads, you have road rules at sea as well, which means if you're entering a channel, for example, and you see a green light, that needs to be on your right hand side, and vice versa. If it's a red light, that stands for port, which is left, and that needs to be on the left hand side of your vessel. So crucial for safely navigating into the harbour. Generally there's a recommended channel that ships need to follow, so when these lights, for example, are inactive, it's very dangerous and unsafe navigating in these areas that have quite strict rules and requirements for getting in and out of the harbour.
Yeah, I can imagine it would be a bit tricky. Now, I see we've got what I'm not allowed to call a map. It's actually a chart, different from what you have on land. What does it actually show us?
Sure. So this is a key tool that most or the majority of mariners must have on board when they're navigating in our area of our coastal areas in New Zealand. So mainly they depict bathymetry, so those are soundings which show the depths of the seabed. So like you have land contours and land elevations on topographic maps, you have the same on these nautical charts. So you've got depth contours and soundings, which are the elevation below sea level. That's the most important piece of information, I guess, on these charts, as well as the coastline, which is very important, and some topographic detail as well. So there are some land elevations and land contours on the charts too. They also show the navigational aids, which, as I've mentioned, are the crucial tools for navigating in and out of sometimes tricky areas. And also they show a lot of port infrastructure. So you get into the harbour, you want to pull up at Lyttelton Port, shows you what berths you can pull in at, what wharves you can park your boat in, and also a lot of other port infrastructure, such as conspicuous buildings. So they're packed with a lot of information, but most importantly the bathymetry.
Okay, so sort of the lie of the land underneath the sea.
Exactly, yeah.
I can see a cool model here. What's that about?
So this here, this is a model I've got depicting a survey vessel that is currently carrying out a multi-beam survey. So essentially this survey here is an echo sounder survey. So what this measures is a sound pulse that then comes from the vessel and then hits the seabed down the bottom, and then the depth is determined on the speed of the reflection on the seabed and how long it takes to get back up to the survey vessel. So what you get here is a lot of soundings, which are then selected based on their importance and then applied on the nautical chart when it's being compiled.
Thanks, Jen. Really interesting.
Thank you.